Welcome everyone. Tony Lockwood. As Sean was saying earlier, I work in the operating partner practice of gunnercooke. And very briefly, what do we do in the operating partner practice? We are three types of people really. There are consultants in there, people who have worked in organisations to manage change, transformation, as well as sort of strategy and leadership development. We've got people that have been in senior roles within large-scale organisations who are providing advice, non-exec director type of support, and interim management support to organisations. And then the third cohort are people that have grown their own business and gone through that sort of entrepreneurial process and come out the other end, usually through some sort of transaction and a sale. And again, you know, like the leaders from the blue chips have got the blood on the t-shirt, almost so very operationally focused and understand what organisations are going through. So collectively with the lawyers, it's quite a powerful mix of people from technical through sort of the consultancy and change element to the pragmatic and operational role. Personally, my background is in change and transformation. Started off in banking and then for the last 25 years been helping organisations deliver major change. And one of the key themes that's happened, I suppose, during those 25 years is putting together teams and teams where some organisations where we've been setting up organisations, new structures and putting an operational team together, many times putting a programme team together and understanding the differences and the challenges and learning the lessons when you get things wrong over those 25 years. I suppose that's what we're looking to bring to the party today. So it'll be a very quick 10 ideas, 10 best practices, I suppose. We'll rattle through them so that we can get into the important stuff, which is the discussion at the end and ask any questions, if that's okay with everybody. So number one, I call this sort of clarity of vision, and it's really about starting with the end in mind, the old Stephen Covey approach, and that's not that's from the organisation's perspective, but it's also from the team's perspective. Let's be clear what we're trying to do and what the end vision is, and then start to communicate it with people, because if you understand where you're going, people can choose whether to get on that train or that bus or that in that car and come along on the journey, or actually they might decide that it's not for them. And you know that in the wide scheme of things, you want people that are engaged and interested and involved on your team. So you know, having that real clarity at a company level, at a team level, and also at the individual level is important. Number two, it's very much focused upon understanding the purpose of the role and getting clarity and consistent understanding of that. I was talking to someone the other day, and actually it was after I wrote a blog about something a few weeks ago, and we ended up having a discussion. And the blog was about an organisation probably about 12 months ago. Well, actually, it's longer now. I'm losing track of time because of COVID. So this was like back in 2019, not 2020. But an organisation appointed a chief transformation officer. You know, £300,000 salary, really strong candidate went in, and was appointed directly by the chief exec, was on his top team. And the lady that got appointed had a very clear understanding in her mind about what a chief transformation role was and what she was going in to do. And through the process, through the recruitment process, it went very smoothly. They thought they were on the same page, but literally within 3 months of going on getting involved in the organisation, she realised that she'd made a massive mistake, because the chief exec at the time just wanted someone who can take ownership of a series of important strategic programs. It wasn't actually about transforming the organisation at all. He'd made some commitments to the city, around these programs and program delivery. She wasn't a business as usual. She was about transformation. And suddenly the relationship broke down. 6 months out, she left the organisation, and 9 months out, the chief exec left the organisation. So it can be quite serious when you get these things wrong. So it's about having consistent understanding of the purpose of the role and the purpose of the team, and getting the context right, and also having that sort of clarity around the interrelationships between the organisations and the people within the team, within the roles operating within. Number 3, and I think this has become even more important over the last 12-18 months, but have an outcomes focus. All too often we measure people by the inputs, and one of the I always remember just before lockdown, a client of mine I was working with, and the chief exec at the time, some people were starting to work from home, some people couldn't. So the chief exec said, it was not fair. I can't control people when they're working from home. We're not having a work from home policy. Everyone has to come into the office. Obviously that suddenly changed when lockdown came in. But his focus at the time was about inputs. It's about, I need to see people at the desk to make sure they're working. And his belief was, if they weren't in the office, they'd be going off making cups of coffee, taking the dogs for a walk, taking the kids to the school, etc., etc. But what we've all learned, I think, over the last 12-18 months is have an outcomes focus. You know, it doesn't matter to some extent in most roles whether or not people are working from 7 till 3 in the afternoon, or from 9 till 5, or from 3 hours in the morning, go off and do some stuff in the middle of the day, and then come back and do some stuff at the end. It's, if we focus on the outcomes, that's the real opportunity, and that gives individuals much more flexibility to put their life, the home life and the work life together, and become much more productive. And those organisations that have grabbed hold of that and really embraced it have seen productivity go through the roof. So yeah, let's focus on the outcomes. Micromanagement of the inputs is a massive no-no for lots of people. But again, the way to do that is about having that clarity about expectations. Number 4, people, well, I call this alignment, but people work in different ways. And the next 5, I'm going to go into each one of them, 5 sort of core areas in more detail. But people work in different ways. People are energized in different ways to do different roles. There'll be different types of opportunities within organizations or programs or transformation roles, etc., where they can, as an individual, they will feel that they can deliver most impact. And when you are energized and when you feel that you can deliver more impact, the likelihood is that you'll be very good at what you do. And the analogy here that I use all too often is back in the schoolyard, when you were lining up to go into whatever sports team it was, and being a boy, it was a football team, and the teacher would say, right, who wants to go in goal? And some kid would be putting their hands up, everybody else would be looking down, and some kid would be putting their hands up, I'll go and go, I'll go and go. Well, he was really energized to go and go. Yeah, everybody else didn't want to do it. The fact that he was either good, bad, or indifferent doesn't really matter. When he got there, he was trying his best to be the best goalkeeper he could be. And if we could get that sort of approach within organisations and position people in areas of the organisation where they feel most energised and where they can deliver most impact, the positive impact can be significant, both for the individual, for the team, and the organisation. And this is something that I do quite a lot of work with personally. We use a tool called the GC Index, and that's a framework that helps us to identify the 5 key areas where people can ultimately deliver or feel the most energized and deliver the maximum impact. And again, it can operate as an individual, on a team basis, or an organization basis. And the 5 areas that I'll cover off in a little bit more detail for the next 5 of these tips. The first one is what we call a game changer. So these are people that want to generate ideas, that they think about the possibilities and they have the potential to be transformational. And we've all seen those people. You know, I think in gunnercooke, for those of us who operate in gunnercooke, Darryl is probably a game changer because he's got that sort of butterfly mind almost. He's very much sort of coming up with lots of ideas, and he's constantly coming up with ideas, and that's in the right role. A game changer is really, really powerful. But if you've got a game changer who's operating in a much more sort of operational role that is very focused upon doing the same things time and time again, they'll get frustrated because they're constantly looking for new ideas. But at the same time, the people that are working with them will get frustrated because they just want to get things done. And then you've got this idiot in the corner that keeps coming up with all these ideas. And it's like, shut up, we've got to do this. And that's where there's some frustrations can happen. Yeah, it's in the right environment, game changers are great, but you've got to make sure that there's a framework that they can work around. And you've got to make sure that within the team, there's a blend between the different types of people. The second type of person that we talk about within GC Index is what we call the strategist. And these types of people, they map the future. They take the ideas that the game changer will typically come up with, but then they want to make sense of it. They want to understand the context and how that idea fits in into the strategic vision of the organization, into the strategic sort of outcomes that the organization set, and try to make sense of it. So they're very data driven. They want to understand what's happening and the reasons why. And then once they've got that, they give very clear direction and start to bring focus on action. And again, in the right environment, they're really, really powerful. But again, if you are although they're very ideas focused and future focused, they are. If you get a game changer and a strategist, very strong game changer and strategist together, those two can get very frustrated because the game changer is constantly coming up with ideas. The strategists want to take each idea and make sense of it. So quite pragmatic in approach, where the game changer is a bit of a butterfly. The third area is what we call implementers. So they typically will take the ideas that the strategists have started to frame and put a plan together and get things done. They're very much about delivering tangible outcomes. And again, in any organization, you need those people that are just very task orientated. They're very focused upon getting things in place and delivering. Coming back to the setting expectations, they'll be driven very much by targets, whether that's date targets, whether that's delivery targets, whether that's sales targets. They'll be very focused upon hitting those targets, and very much of a mindset that good is good enough. So then once they've got something done, they want to move on to the next thing. The sort of fourth area, or the eighth tip, but the fourth area that on the game changer model are what we call polishers, and these are, I suppose they're typically will work in business improvement. They'll probably be with a mindset around Lean or Six Sigma. They're constantly looking for continual improvement. they'll take what's in place at the moment and then look to make it as best they can as it can be. The perfectionists generally, and very much sort of driven by that pursuit of excellence. And they'll take ideas. They're very good at taking ideas from other industries, from other teams, from other organisations, and looking to adopt and adapt it for to make their world better. And again, you know, within the right environment, that's really good to have a polisher in place. But again, they can get very frustrating to work with if you are a implementer, because they're constantly looking to get the maximum and get that sort of real sort of pursuit of excellence. But the implementer is like, it's working. Let's move on. Let's go on to the next thing. And so that, you know, the two of those could feel quite frustrated when they work together. And the final aspect, and number 9 in the tips, but the final aspect within the GC index is what we call the Playmaker, and this is very much a type of person that wants to, or their focus, I suppose, is to get the best from others. So both as an individual, but also as collectively as a team. And they can either be task orientated or people orientated. So the task orientated Playmaker will very much sort of talk about what can we do, but ultimately, guys, this is what we've got to get to. This is the outcome that we're looking for. Where the people orientated Playmaker will very much focus upon, right, guys, you know, how are we going to do this? What are we doing? And won't move forward until they've got consensus around that team. And so within getting that, coming back to the 5 areas, so game changer, strategist, implementer, polisher, and Playmaker, the key for a team is to make sure that you've got a good blend across those 5 areas when you're working in a team. And when you're coming into either recruiting people or looking at why teams are not working as effectively as you think they should do, then it's always useful to start looking at where people are against these 5 core areas. And you know, everyone will have certain elements of each one. But again, if you think back to that sort of playground activity, yeah, that goalkeeper who suddenly puts the hand up, that could be a game changer. It could be a strategist. It could be an implementer. Yeah, the guy who went in goal could play up front or in midfield as well, but his real drive was to go and goal. Again, coming back to the earlier tips about having that purpose within the role and that real clarity of vision, understanding which of these core, what we call proclivities, but these core sort of key elements of an individual, and working that through in the right way within the team, that will help you to help the individual perform to the best and deliver maximum impact to the organisation and the team, but ultimately get the best from the team and deliver the results and the outcomes that we're looking for to ultimately deliver the vision that the organisation has set in the first place.